Om Sahanam Bhavatu Sahanau Punaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Since many people are new to class, I don't mean new today, but generally new to class, you may not know the meaning of the invocation which we do before the class. If you don't know the meaning, then you could hear the meaning, listen to the meaning from the YouTube channel. There is, the channel Team Janki Santok. On that, there is a video on the prayer. It's called Om Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu. So you could go and listen to that so that you at least know what we are praying each time. This is a traditional chant, invocation from Vedic literature. Can you even imagine that? How old is this chant that we are doing? We're chanting it slightly differently. We're not chanting it in the Vedic manner or in the Upanishadic manner, but these words are from their tradition. Over time, this is a lighter chant instead of learning the more complicated Upanishadic chant. I mean, the tune of it. So please do listen to it if you don't know it. And we're all good with what we have done so far. Everybody is on track with it. Then let us see where were we. We have been studying about the human composition, and we have studied the human composition from very many different angles. Basically, it is all just a different way of classifying it. What you need to know in this whole thing is that every human being is made up of spirit and matter. Even as I say it, I feel that everybody must be saying, "Re baapre, kitne baar wahi cheez." We get it. No, we don't. We don't get it. We just don't get it. We don't even get that we are more than the physical body. Even that much is too much for us to comprehend. But at least intellectually, let us get that every human being is made up of spirit and matter. Every being. And whenever I approach any being, think of any being, look in the mirror and see this being, I always have an option within myself. And my option is I can focus on the spirit or I can focus on the matter. This is my option, constant option. Always there. When my maid rings the bell and comes in the morning, I have the option, focus on spirit or focus on matter. When I focus on matter, the fact that she is late is a big botheration. The fact that she didn't come yesterday is an even bigger botheration. The fact that she has come today is huge pleasure. There's all sorts of things going on. But when I focus on the spirit, then what happens? Then my mind can only feel universal affection. And when it feels that universal affection, it is calm in itself. There's not much halchal going on. And so I naturally do the correct thing, the appropriate thing, the useful thing. Otherwise, we are so caught up in matter that we're all the time doing inappropriate things and creating a mess out of everything. So you may say, okay, that sounds fine, but really I can't focus on spirit. It's too high a leap for me. Okay, fine. But please at least understand the concept. If the concept is clear, you can ask the next question, how do I do this? But at least concept must be clear, no? So at concept level, at theory level, we should not have any confusion. Because if we have confusion at concept level, know for certain everything else we're going to mess up. So now if your concept is clear that that's what I should aim to reach, then my question is, how will I reach that? So we go in steps, we go gradually. We can't just jump straight to the self, straight to the spirit. So if you're at body level, push it to mind. If you're at mind level, push it to intellect. If you're at intellect, push it to the self. Go step by step. In whatever way you deem fit. Vedanta has only one job in our life, and that is to give us the principles. How you apply that principle is your business, nobody else. It's not anybody's place in life to tell you what to do. But it is the place of knowledge to make us understand what needs to be done. So that's both the pleasure and the frustration of Vedanta. It's pleasure because nobody tells us what to do. It's frustrating because nobody tells us what to do. So it's both the pleasure as well as the frustration. Varsha, you want to say something?
Yes. Can I ask a question? So last time we were saying, there was a question as to why do we have this classification of states, right? And then one of the, if I this I understood right, that since the fourth state is Turiya, which we cannot even comprehend, it's to say that okay, if you think Turiya is does it exist kind of question mark, then these three states, you believe reality to be the state you are in. So now you raised a question about what you believe in as it exists. It's like it's messing with my mind right now, because I don't believe or can't comprehend Turiya, now I have questions about how I comprehend reality also. Am I?
Yes.
So that
yes, that is the point of philosophy, to give you a question where you had none.
So now my thing is that if this what I believe is reality is not real, then I have to find what is real. It's putting me on the path. It's making me question.
Yes,
Okay.
except that nobody told you it's not real. They only said, have you ever considered why you think it is real?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
So what did we do? In the basic constitution, we did how human being is made up of spirit and matter. Matter is made up of body, mind, intellect. Spirit is the self. What is the role of the spirit? It is the enlivening factor. How do you know that the spirit exists? Everybody will say, how do you know God exists? Well, when you say ask the question, how do you know God exists? First, you have to understand what does God mean. If your God is somebody who sits up in the clouds and blesses you when you pray to him and curses you if you don't pray to him, then how do you know such a God exists? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I have no such, what should I say, belief in such a God. Is he a God who is a kindly father, takes care of you even if you behave badly? I don't know how you'd be able to establish that. But if your God is the God of the Vedas, if your God is the God of the Upanishads, if your God is the self, if your understanding of the transcendental reality is of that enlivening factor of the truth behind these images, if that is your understanding, then you can still ask the question, how do you know that there is that thing? Now you can never know this. You can never prove this. But we do have some corroboratory evidence. We don't know whether there is a reality or not. We don't know whether there is something beyond our experience or not. But we know some things, very strange things. Things like, I call this my car. I say it is my car. When I say this is my car, I immediately understand there is I, there is me, and there is my car, and these are two separate things. I am the possessor, my car is the possessed, what I possess. So, this is easy. But then I go one step further. Do I not say this is my body, my mind, my intellect? Does that mean I conceive myself as something other than the body, mind, and intellect? In my car, there was me and the car. In my body, there is me and the body. My mind, there's I and the mind. There is my intellect, there is I and the intellect. Who or what is that I? And it seems almost impossible for us to put our finger on it. What is that I? Who is that I? If I ask you, who are you? I am Shilpa, I am Usha, I am Shanti, I am Milind. That's your name. You try again, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm a child. That's your gender or your age. I'm Indian, I'm human. That's your country, that's your species. Who or what are you? Can't answer that question. Just as we cannot answer the question as to what is reality, we cannot answer the question, who I am. Isn't that strange? Isn't that strange indeed? These are corroboratory evidences. Then you are seeing change in yourself. Are you not? You're perceiving the body, mind, and intellect change. But you can tell change only with reference to an unchanging factor. What is that you're comparing to? What unchanging thing are you seeing within yourself to know your body, mind, intellect changes? I know my body changes. I have my photographs when I was young. Okay, remove that. What about your mind? What about the intellect itself? What makes you notice that change? lots of corroboratory evidence. The unchanging I, in spite of all the changes. The same possessor, in spite of what you claim to be possessing, is what you think yourself to be. Corroboratory. Corroboratory evidence means something that doesn't prove it, but gives you evidence close by, as it were. Close by means, like suppose it's a murder mystery. Then you can't prove that this person did it, but you can prove that this person doesn't have an alibi, he has a motive, he has a weapon. You can prove all this. So it doesn't directly prove that he murdered, but it is a corroboratory evidence. Okay, so we have corroboratory evidence of something unknown, something out there which we don't know about. That something out there is not just out there, it's everywhere. Everywhere means including me, no? Now, how much of it can you perceive depends on your perception. Some people say there is only a physical body. Some people accept that there are thoughts. Some people accept that there is a self. Accept means they're willing to consider it. So, depends on your perception what you take or not. Okay, so that was our topic 1. Our topic 2 was this. Remember this? Can you see it? It was the chart. Varsha, you're raising your hand again? Or is that the old hand raised?
Can I ask one question?
Yes, go ahead.
So a self-realized person's, the intellect, it is still that person's intellect, right? Which understands that I means self. Because understanding will mean intellect. I mean, we say we conceptually understand it. So how differently does a self-realized soul, I mean, he can comprehend it. I guess that comprehension is beyond us because it's subtler, right? We can just talk about it. Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, if you work it out for yourself, all the better. You cannot understand anything that a self-realized person does. No, even when we claim that we have understood, we don't know what we're talking about. There's this story that man thought that he was a ant. Okay, so he was taken into therapy. He thought he was an ant. So the therapist worked on him, trying to explain to him, trying to bring him to the understanding that he's a human being, not a ant. But he kept thinking he's an ant. And then the therapist asked him in the end so many questions, and he could answer them all. And she said, "Oh, great! Now you're convinced, right, that you're a man, you're not a ant. And so, great! This is the end of your session, and look your life." To which that man said, "Yes, now I have completely understood. Thanks to you. You have opened my eyes." And he was leaving. And at the door, he stopped for a minute and he said, "But I have one last question." Okay, she said, "What's your question?" So that man said to her, "I am completely convinced you have really changed my view. I completely understand I'm a human. I'm a man. But my question is, do the chicken know it? Otherwise, I'm an ant, then those guys will pick me up. They don't know I'm a human." So what did you understand from that question immediately? Still not understood, right? That's how our understanding of Vedanta is. It is very, very shallow. We feel we've understood, but that conversion is a very different thing. Now, any other person who also thinks he's an ant will never be able to understand what do these people mean that he has been cured of not thinking himself an ant. How did that happen? Did he change his? What did he change? It's incomprehensible when you're in that state. Similarly, we don't understand what it means to be the self. So nothing we can do or say will ever bring that about. And when we do understand it, now we'll have a different problem. We'll never be able to tell anyone else. And no one else will know. There is no way anyone can know whether somebody is self-realized or not until they are self-realized. This can't. It's like, suppose Usha speaks Russian. Okay? Now, she may be speaking brilliant Russian or she may be speaking awful Russian. But how will we know? Only when we know Russian, right? Otherwise, there's no way we can tell. It all sounds the same. So Shilpa maybe hears her and imitates the way she speaks. And we think, oh my God, Shilpa and Usha both know Russian, but actually Shilpa may just be imitating. Just as an example, Shilpa, since I can see your face. Otherwise, you'll say, why did you make me illiterate? I don't know whether she knows Russian or not, but just as a, so somebody pretends to us. There was this funny man who really spoke very questionable English. So you'd go to his store and all, and he would say the philosophy of this cloth. And other people who spoke equally questionable English would say, oh, big words he uses. No, he knows English so well. For those who understand English, they'll say, oh, is he gone mad? What word is he using? So, can't tell. So, no point asking. So, yes, Varsha, all a long explanation to your short answer that it's too subtle for us to tell. Yes, can never tell. But what we can tell is what we are right now. So let's examine that. What do we know about ourselves? We know we have a physical body. Okay, clear. I hope that much is clear. That much is clear, right? No problem here. Then we know we go through emotions. Okay, clear about that. Because it's a fact. I mean, there's no denying that we all have emotions. We may have emotions about different things, but we have them. Love, anger, greed, jealousy, whatever, frustration, whatever, depression, happiness, so many emotions. Then we have an intellect. We have a capacity to think, to reason, to go beyond the emotion. We have a completely distinct capacity beyond the emotion, where you can think, where you can reflect, where you can contemplate. So we know that three things are going on within us. We can see a body. This body can perform actions, you can move around, you can do stuff. This body can perceive. Okay, eyes, ears, you can hear, see, taste, smell, touch. Do all this. You know this for a fact. You know the emotions. In Vedanta, we call the emotions mind. And then we have intellect, which is our capacity of reason. You know this? Clear. Now we know. So much so far, so good, right? No problem up to this point. Now, each one of us has got a different body, mind, and intellect. And each one's body, mind, intellect does a different kind of thing. An engineer's intellect thinks in a particular way. An artist's intellect thinks in a particular way. When the what is that Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Okay, engineer looks at it. He looks at it. He understands it in a very different way from how, say, Deepa. Deepa is an artist. She must be looking at it. She's seeing sunset, sunrise, how beautifully it is. The engineer is wondering about load structure and this and that. I mean, two completely different ways of looking at something. If we all have a body, mind, intellect, then why is our body, mind, intellect so different? Is because we all have an inherent nature from which we come to the body, mind, intellect level. Because whatever nature is, that will give you a particular intellect, particular mind, particular body. This inherent nature is known as vasanas. Now is the big question. What makes this whole thing function? Is that enlivening principle, which we will call Atman. You can call it any name. You can call it Father in Heaven, you can call it Allah, you can call it Vishnu, Shiva, you can call it Shunyata. Anything. Shunyata means nothingness. Call it whatever you want. Some enlivening principle, some nature, vasanas, some body, mind, and intellect. The body which acts and perceives, the mind which feels, and the intellect which thinks. What does it act, perceive? Sense objects. What does the actor do? Actions. The mind has emotions. The intellect is of two types, gross and subtle. Who remembers gross and subtle intellect? So much I've spoken, now y'all can speak a little. Too much I talk, no? Okay. Who remembers gross and subtle intellect?
Intellect used for scientific purposes, studies, that will be your gross. And intellect used for the higher truth, spiritual knowledge will be subtle.
Okay, but very generalized. We have specific definitions.
Gross is thinker, thoughts of the world, and subtle is contemplator and thoughts of reality.
Yes, but what is the difference?
Or the eternal, and the eternal for the subtle and the ephemeral for the gross. I mean,
okay, give us the definition. You all are both right. Both Naim, Meera, you all are both right. You're not wrong. But let's go by definition. So we are all clear about what we're talking about.
Capacity to discriminate between the pairs of opposites. That's gross intellect.
Mm-hmm.
Capacity to discriminate between the world and beyond the world. That is subtle intellect.
Very good. Except for one small phrase. Can anyone add the phrase? Priya got it right. She got 90%. Can anyone give that 10%?
Between pairs of opposites in the world.
Very good, Reshma. Reshma, nowadays you seem to be studying very well. Very nice. Excellent. What are the rest of you all doing? Basic definitions everybody should know. What is the definition of intellect?
Capacity to discriminate.
Capacity to discriminate. So we start with that. An intellect is the capacity to discriminate. What is discrimination? You can tell two things apart. Light and dark and tall and short and fat and thin and good and bad and I don't know what, all this various pairs. These things, these two opposites, are known in Vedanta as dvandvas, or pairs of opposites. When an intellect is able to discriminate between the pairs of opposites within the world, it is known as the gross intellect. When the intellect is able to discriminate between a single pair of opposites, which is
terrestrial, transcendental.
Terrestrial and transcendental, world and not world. That is the subtle intellect. In both cases, it is discrimination in two things. So Priya, you can't say gross intellect discriminates between pairs of opposites. No, intellect discriminates between pairs of opposites. When it discriminates, between pairs of opposites within the world, it is known as the gross intellect. When it discriminates between a single pair of opposite, which is world and not world, means world and transcendental, then that is subtle intellect. So conscience comes where?
Subtle.
Subtle intellect. Why? Because what does the conscience do? It's only pointing northwards. It just makes you uncomfortable, right? It just says, no. It doesn't tell you what to do. It just says, no, ye to karna nahi hai. We can't do this. So it's just pointing northwards all the time. It's a compass in us, always pointing northwards, saying, not this, not this, not this, something else, something else, something else. You all have the book, or do you want to see the picture, the diagram?
Give you one question.
I'll come to your question, Milan. There's another question here. Do you all want the diagram, or this is clear? Anybody wants the diagram to be shown on the screen?
We can see it once, Janki ji.
Mahesh, please show it. The Atman manifesting through the vasanas creates the body, mind, and intellect. The body contains organs of perception, organs of actions, organs of perception. When you use, you are called the perceiver. When you use the organs of action, you're called the actor. When you use your mind, you are the feeler. When you use your intellect, you're the thinker and contemplator. Clear? So that PAFTC is individual. PAFTC. But remember, behind this PAFTC, what is there?
The self.
Atman.
Atman. Clear, no? So whenever you say PAFTC, it means Atman, because it's there. It's not removed from that. What does the perceiver do? He perceives sense objects. What does the actor do? Action. Feeler, emotion. Thinker, thoughts of the world. Contemplator, thoughts of reality. So your last line is basically your world. What is this PFCT reacting with? Okay. So second last line is the individual. Last line is the world. At the base of both the individual and the world is
Self.
Okay, we are good with this. Everybody's okay? I hope you all have the book. Please, everybody have the book. You can have the Kindle version or you can have the hard copy, but please have the book if you're studying it. Imagine studying a text and not having the text. Okay, so we can remove. Now there was a question. Okay. What about the capacity of the intellect to control the mind? Does it have to be used in the definition of the intellect? I had asked Swamiji this question once and he had said no. Okay, now you figure out why. In terms of definition, how can you use that quality? In other words, if the intellect is superior, is a superior in equipment, and your intellect has discriminated between two things, how can your mind do something else? It cannot, it doesn't have the power. So control of the mind by the intellect is really not something. When the intellect's discrimination is perfect, control is automatic. Like for instance, if you know that a particular glass of Thumbs Up has cyanide in it, you won't drink it. You won't say I'm longing to drink it. That means you don't understand it as cyanide. So when we talk about the mind not being within the control of the intellect, what that really means is you've not understood it.
Hari Om, madam. Ganesh here. I have one question. 1 second, Ganesh.
Yes. Qatar mein hai. Many people are still there. Are you okay, Mahesh? Understanding is in the intellect. Understanding is in the intellect now. When your intellect discriminates, your mind has no option to do something else. Understanding is in the intellect. Yes, the intellect understands. And when it understands, the mind goes in that direction. I think you're referring to another discussion we had. What are you doing in this class? This is a morning class, no? Mahesh, remember that the intellect understands, that understanding manifests where? Where does
Action.
that huh?
Actions.
Okay, before that?
Mind.
Mind.
Mind. When your intellect understands, your mind changes. When your intellect grows up to become an adult, your mind has changed. It no longer wants those toys. When your intellect grows up to conceive higher values, the mind changes. It no longer wants the lower. It's not a desire anymore. Are you clear, Mahesh? It's the same point as last time. It's not different. All right. So who was somebody else? Milind, you wanted to say something, right?
Janki ji, Hari Om.
Milind.
Janki ji, what is difference between subtle intellect and curiosity to know about transcendental?
No difference. Same thing. The desire to know the transcendental, when your intellect discriminates, your mind can want. So when your mind has a craving, a longing to know that transcendental, that can only come as step 2. Step 1 has to be that the intellect has discriminated between the world and something beyond. Once you have discriminated, then only you can have a desire, right? I want to know that. So there's no difference. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Then Ganesh. Am I missing?
Hari Om, madam. Yes. Hari Om, madam. See, when we are in the dream state, what happens to the body? Because the body doesn't move. So everything happens in the mind. So is there something like a movie? A movie is projected in the mind?
Ganesh, this should have been at the beginning, no? What is it to do with the context now? There is body doesn't move, that you know, and is it like a movie projected? I suppose you can say that, but where does that take us? When the mind and intellect function without the presence, without the active intervention of the body, that's the deep sleep. That's the dream state. That's its definition, right? Because even now, if your mind wanders, like suppose we are talking about gross intellect and subtle intellect, and then your mind has wandered off to waking, dream, and deep sleep. That means in that context, you're in dream because the mind is gone somewhere other than where the body is. So
Okay.
when the mind functions without the intervention of the body, I mean, they are in two different places basically, then that's dream.
Understood.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, understood. I'm just having a coughing fit.
Okay. Shloka. Did anyone else have a question? I take Shloka.
Janki ji, Hari Om. Rajesh
Oh,
here.
Rajesh.
Yeah, that's my daughter's name.
Okay.
So the question was primarily that when we're talking about the intellect and the mind, and the intellect actually, as you said, the feed comes in from the mind, and then it takes a decision in terms of what's appropriate and what is not. But what if you're not exposed to a specific situation? Obviously the intellect is not in a position to take the right decision. So would you say that it is the mind that is acting, or would you say that the intellect still kicks in? I mean,
the intellect can be sleeping. Even if you know the situation, you know that every time I go to the club, I drink too much. Okay? But still you go to the club. So though you know, you don't really know because the mind has not followed suit. So the intellect could be sleeping, means it has not woken up to that truth. Sorry. Can you repeat your question?
no, yeah, okay. I think that's one of the situation that you're talking about. But I'm saying, what if you have a circumstance that the intellect has not been exposed to? I'm saying it learns, right? I mean, let's say you put your hand in the fire, you burnt your hand. The next time you go close to the fire, the intellect says, don't touch it, don't put your hand there, and you don't do it. But what if you have a situation where you've not been exposed? So it's a completely new situation that that we are exposed to. So would we say that it's a mind that is acting in that situation, or would you say that it is I'm just trying to figure.
No, but why? Wait, I think what I'm trying to say is, why would you distinguish whether you already know or don't know? In either case, you could be using mind or intellect.
No, but doesn't the intellect learn in the process? I mean, there is the discrimination comes with the, if you apply. Yeah, correct. If you apply, correct. So there is this learning thing that comes in, right? I mean, with exposure to various situations.
No. Yes, I understand where you're coming from, but that's not really how it happens. What happens is that either you're a mind-driven person or an intellect-driven person. If you're a mind-driven person, then known situation or unknown situation, you will continue to do what the mind says. And if you're an intellect-driven person, then known situation or unknown situation, the intellect will be applied. When the intellect is applied, you will learn something new. When you're mind-driven, you will flounder along. I mean, you will do weird things over there. You know what they call in English as bull in the china shop. So you go there, your intellect is not working, damn, you broken. God alone knows what broken, how many people's hearts made everybody go mad. Blissfully unaware of everything. So it's got nothing to do with whether it's a known or an unknown situation. It's got to do with, who am I? Am I the person who leads with the intellect, or am I the person who leads with the mind? When I lead with the mind, I won't learn, I will mess up. Old situations are new. If I lead with the intellect, if I need to learn, I'll learn. Otherwise, I already know, so I will apply. I'll do whatever needs. Like suppose I go to meet the queen. Now, I've not met or lived with royalty before, because I don't know how they handle stuff. So if I'm intellect driven, I will be a little objective. I'll see ki log kya kar rahe hain, which spoon, which fork are they picking up now? But if I'm not, and like, oh, I love this fork, and you pick that one up and use the dessert fork for, I don't know, soup or something.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So it depends on what you are being driven by, not the situation.
Okay, got it, Jen. Thank you.
Preeti Malik, in dream state, does intellect have any role? only the role of awareness. When the mind is functioning largely, what is the intellect doing? It's only larger or smaller degrees of awareness. So does it have any role? It has role means you know, right, what's going on.
It is not aware that one is dreaming.
It's not capable, because remember, it is the dreamer's intellect. How can the dreamer's intellect know this? Not possible.
True. Then, Janki-ji, what is the difference between intuition and mind or subconsciousness?
Okay, now our ball has gone everywhere. Intuition. Why am I saying this?
There's a video.
Yeah.
Are we operating through the mind when it is the
knowledge.
intuition?
I didn't hear. There is a video on YouTube. So listen to it on intuition. It's one of the more popular videos for some reason. The most popular in English, at least, is that Karna video. I don't know why it's so popular, but it's like it is the most popular English video. It beats me why something gets popular and why so many people want to listen about this, and equally, what I would consider interesting or more interesting, nobody wants to hear. No explaining these things. That is why these stars, are so superstitious, because they never know which film will do well and which will not. Like
That's
that.
true.
So, yeah, go listen to that, and that's all about intuition.
No, but how do we know we are operating through the mind or we are listening to our intuition? Is there a way to find out? What we say, the gut feeling is this, the intuition is this, and the mind says one thing.
Yeah, wait. All discrimination comes from where?
Intellect.
Then that's how you find out if your intellect is awake. Now you have to make a discrimination. No, now is it like I'm feeling like it, or is it my gut feeling? The discrimination you're making.
Okay, get it. Because sometimes there is a nagging thought.
But first, you must know what is intuition. So first find all that stuff out, then it'll be easier. Discrimination is also based on knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So once you understand things better, you discriminate better.
Okay, understand. Okay, Janki, we will try. I don't know if I've understood or not, but
just listen to the video. Then the principle is, the better your knowledge, video? The better your discrimination. So the more you understand what it is, the better you'll discriminate in that.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that. Otherwise, to you in the next class.
Sure.
Thank you.
Why are we always aware? Are we always aware whether our choices were made from our mind or intellect? Who can answer this question? Jyoti says, are we always aware whether our choices were made from mind or intellect? Yes, Reshma.
Depends on whether the outcome came first or the thinking came first.
Okay, that's one way of telling. But her question is, are we always aware whether our choices were made from our mind or intellect? Are we always aware?
Depends on how much thinking we've done.
Very good. Very good. Depends on whether your intellect is being applied or not. When your intellect is not applied, you have no awareness. So, are you aware whether the choice was mind or intellect? Is a question of, is your intellect functioning? If your intellect is functioning, you will know. Chandrasekhar. Okay, Jyoti. Where are you, Jyoti? I can't see you today. Ah, there you are. Yeah. How do I get the book? Chandrasekhar, you please get in. Where are you, Chandrasekhar? In which part of on the globe are you?
I'm in Pune, ma'am.
Oh, Pune. Yeah, of course. In the bookstores also you'll get, and you can get it online. You can get it from the academy. You can get it. Bharat can give you multiple places from where the book is available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so coming back. So now where were we? Gross and subtle intellect. Now, even though every aspect of our personality is different based on the fact that we have different vasanas, there is one thing common amongst all of us, and that is the self. Just as all electrical gadgets are different, but the one common thing is electricity. So too within us, everything is different based on our vasanas, but the one common thing is the Atman. The tiger's vasanas are of a tiger, then his intellect is of a tiger, then intellect is of a tiger means his discrimination is of a tiger. What is the discrimination of the tiger? This is food, this is not food. This is mate, this is not mate. Right? In even the animal world, they don't go and mate with somebody who's not of their species, right? They have an intellect to discriminate. This is whatever. This is enemy, this is friend. They have the discrimination. And based on their discrimination is an action, is a feeling. So, I don't know whether the tiger sees a very nice meal for itself and then it feels, oh, lovely meal, and then it goes chasing whatever it is that it has found as a lovely meal. So actions will come. But why? Tiger vasana, tiger discrimination, tiger emotion, tiger action. Similarly, Manoj has his vasanas. So what will he do? Manoj is discrimination, Manoj is emotions, Manoj is action. Now all this will be different. Be different from Preeti, will be different from Milind, will be different for Jyoti. Different. Vasana is different, body mind intellect different, but common factor, Atman. Spiritual growth is finding that commonality. How do you find that commonality? You figure out what is making us different. What is making us different is the vasanas. So how do you find commonality? The more you reduce the vasanas, the desires, the more the commonality. How do you do that? How do you reduce your vasanas or desires? Let's use the word desires. How do you reduce it?
Knowledge.
3 yogas.
The 3 yogas. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga.
But knowledge triumphs, right? All of them.
Knowledge, when we refer to, we're referring to knowledge of the higher. That means you have escalated yourself to a higher realm. But how do you escalate yourself to the higher realm? Is through karma, bhakti, and jnana. So when you come to class and you gain knowledge, you are doing jnana yoga. You haven't gained knowledge. When you get up in the morning and study, you're doing jnana yoga. You haven't gained knowledge. These are means. Gaining knowledge means that you have escalated yourself to the next level. So in that sense, knowledge is the best. Because you moved up. So all the lower things have gone. But that's different from the cause, which is your listening to lectures, your study yourself, your application of the intellect. All this comes in the jnana. Then which you do, then bhakti. Then before class we do little bhajans, and I hope you do some on your own, some devotion, some surrender, some practice of it. I hope you, just as you have a time in your day to do jnana yoga, you must have time in your day to do bhakti yoga. And so we don't have visibility over what you do in terms of bhakti, at least in the class I can see you're here. I don't know whether you're getting up in the morning and studying, but at least class-wise you're here. Then bhajans, all those who come late to class haven't heard the bhajans, they think that it is, I don't know what. It's there for a purpose, everything that we do is there for a purpose. So I hope you do it on your own. And then of course, karma yoga, which most of you are very good at. The volunteer work everyone does here is fantastic. So And we have such a major project also. So I hope you feel for that vision when you do it. Not just like, oh yeah, let's do some karma, let's just do some good work. Not like that. You feel for that vision and do it, because that is genuine karma yoga. So you're doing your karma, you're doing your bhakti, you're doing your jnana, and as you do that, you get escalated to a higher level, which basically means reduction of us. The vasanas are at the core of your personality, hiding the self within.
So Janki ji, in that sense, when so what you explained right now, when a person does the 3 yogas and they move to the higher realm of knowledge, does that change? Then they don't pursue all 3 and they only pursue knowledge, or how is it?
Does that change means? If you are a highly intellectual person, like you're 99% intellect and 0.5 body and 0.5 emotions, then you could do only jnana yoga and you'd probably grow. But the rest of us are not so highly predominant. So like 99.9% recurring of humanity will have to do all 3 yogas. Otherwise, there may be lopsided growth. That's why even in the retreat, we have the full day program. Even in the academy course or the courses we run, all of them, whether it's a retreat or whether it is a 1 month long course, the day contains all the yogas. And of course, if you are particularly inclined to one, you can do more of one. That's fine. But everybody has to do all 3. Including the 4th yoga, which we don't often mention, which is called Hatha Yoga. Even that has to be done. And that's the whole advantage of residential courses, because when everybody's doing it, everybody's doing it. It makes us get into that sort of rhythm of things. Otherwise, we give ourselves excuses why we didn't exercise, why we didn't study, why we didn't do bhajan. Means we have some excuse or the other. Oh, it was so busy, it was so this, it was so that. Let's get into the rhythm of it. Because if your goal is growth, then this cannot be sacrificed. Just cannot. Because what are you doing if it's not actions taking you to your goal? If it is your goal, obviously. If you have understood so much that the purpose of my existence is growth, right up to self-realization. I understand so much. Come hail or high water, I'm not moving from the path. So many things we need to do in life, You have to cook food, you have to, eat food, you have to do hundreds of things. You have to go to parties, you have to see movies, you have to, all sorts of things we have to do. Because we're living in the world, right? We're not isolating ourselves. We're part of the whole chakkar. You have to take your kids to school and get them into university. The whole chakkar is going on. But come hell or high water, you don't stop doing what takes you to your goal. In and through everything that's going on. Mukesh, with regards to karma yoga, one should do with feeling so the mind takes play. Because if one does this with intellect, then one wants to notch up to a higher level, selfish desire. Mukesh, yes, better than mechanical action is action with feelings. But better than action with feelings is action which is with a higher vision in mind. Like we are trying to start the Vedanta University. Now, in this thing, many people are helping, obviously. There are hundreds of people have to help if this has to move forward. But most people are, not most people, many people are helping because they are good people. They want to help, which is very different from Karma Yoga, which is that they understand the vision, the larger vision, the macro perspective, understand that that is something that should be done, and therefore perform this action. So when you have a higher vision, then that is the essence of Karma Yoga, not good work. So the highest vision you could have in Karma Yoga is self-purification. So the way you have written it over there, it becomes a selfish desire. So if I say, I want to be less selfish, it becomes a selfish desire. So this is a little tricky. So what we do, at least initially, is we say we want to help the world or we want to help something. But we have to know at the back of our mind that this is to escalate me to, not me, it has to escalate the human being to a higher position. Because the best service I can do to the world is be a better person. There is no greater service in this world than that. Because when I'm a better person, everybody around me, whoever contacts me in any way, will benefit from the fact that these equipments were better. Is that clear?
Thank you, Janaki.
Ma'am, I have one last question. I know we are out of time. Can I ask?
Okay, 1 second, Ganesh. I think Mukesh is trying to say something.
No, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, Ganesh.
Ma'am, we say man minus desire is equal to God. So once all my desires are exhausted, I know that's a very long way, but still there'll be some karma that is pending, right? So still we'll be having this life, or it's all done?
I think next class we'll keep for questions, because I think a lot of people have a lot of general questions. We have very little of this chapter left. So next class we'll keep for questions. So please come with your questions. I feel, if there are a lot of questions, it need not be about the chapter, but so what we'll do next time, by next time I mean